Good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to the Friday afternoon's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption, Incompetence. Welcome today, Friday, the 5th day of December in the year of our Lord 2025. Welcome as you come on board, share the live. Let them know that we're on. We know we're competing with a lot of stuff this afternoon. We have just after this weekend, 2 more weekends to Christmas. So a lot of people are going to be busy doing what people do as you approach the Christmas period. So welcome one and all. Another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks for being in the land of the living. It is a privilege to be in the land of the living, and we should never, ever take that for granted. So here we are, another great day, notwithstanding the weather. Even Guyana is rain, I understand in New York is a lot of cold, below freezing and so on, but that is what it is. You got to make do with what you have and go about your life, go about your business. So welcome. Share the live. The doors were open at 2 o'clock this afternoon. You know, let me share quickly. I attempted to schedule the program this afternoon, and then AI took over. It took me a long time to figure out how to get around AI, because they put it in their own words and all these type of things. So eventually the program was scheduled, and we opened the doors, the gates at 2, and many people poured in at that time. Many persons poured in, and we're gonna we're not gonna do roll call. We're gonna move. My colleague Cece is in the studio. He was in early and he get thrown out, and he's back in. So let's hope everything go well from now on. So yes, here we are. We have a lot to tell you this afternoon. We have a lot. So I'm going to just make the announcements, and we are going to go straight into it. We're going to make the announcements. We start with the sad announcements first. Just to tell you, again, in relation to Sergeant Vaughn, Alex Vaughn, today is 630 days since Vaughn was shot and killed. Police told us by one of his colleagues, they claim it was friendly fire, and until now, that incident took place on March the 12th, 2024. Can't hear nothing. And they talk about transparency. They talk about accountability. Words they don't know the meaning of. So yeah, we're gonna keep their feet to the fire. We're gonna keep reminding people about all of these things. And I've said before in previous program, the Minister of Home Affairs or whoever briefs her will ask an update on these matters and let the public know what is wrong with that. Let the public know if the investigation is stalled or whatever the reason might be, that 630 days after the killing of this sergeant, you can't hear anything more. So, and then let me tell you about some, the usual thing, deaths. We told you a few days ago about the death of retired Woman Corporal 0851 Valda Jr. Valda Jr. died recently, and I learned that our funeral will be on Monday. They said Monday at Pleasance. That's all the information that we got. Monday in Pleasance. I don't think we don't have any other further information at this stage. So that is it. And then I learned yesterday of the death of a former member, a squad mate of mine, W331 Claudette Gibbs. Those people, the older police might remember, Gibbs used to be at the quartermaster stores. She used to be part of that, what I call very good foresight team. Pictures are around in the library and elsewhere. It used to be led, I think, by Ford. Ford was 7029. He was the quartermaster when he retired, Ford. It also included 8207 Benjamin, W331 Gibbs, and I can't remember the others, but quartermasters still had a good foresight team. And I learned that Claudette passed away recently. As I said, she was my squad mate. We all joined in 1974. So we have that. And then, again, you can't rest. I think Monday, we were pleased to tell you that we had no fatal accidents to report. Well, today, we have 2 to report that happened between Wednesday and this morning. And today, 2. One, they said that a woman was killed by a speeding car yesterday, Aubrey Barker Road, in South there. The information is, I saw the video, They claim that she attempted to cross the road, look up and saw this car coming, and tried to dash back, but it was too late. It picked her up, and she was killed on the spot because there's a video circulating where EMS arrived and tried to do artificial respiration and so on. She didn't make it. And they're claiming from the video that the car was heavily tinted. Looked like even the front windscreen tinted, right? So that is one. And then again, we had one where on the quarantine, right? Quarantine, where a man was killed there on the quarantine, Unless Public Road. They say that a 30-year-old truck driver, well, he wasn't driving the truck at the time, but he was in a car driven by someone else when the car lost control, turned over, and this guy died as a result of that accident. Well, I'm not going to tell you this incident because they're running to nothing. It lost control, it turned over, but a fatality on the road. And it is said that when the driver who was injured was tested, he was way above the legal limit, twice the legal limit of alcohol. Well, I am looking to see what is going to happen with that, because the Attorney General told us, the country, some time ago, that if a person dies in a road accident as a result, and it is proven that the driver was above the legal limit, they're not going to charge him. He's not going to be charged under the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act for causing death by dangerous driving. He's going to be charged with motor manslaughter. So let me see what's going to happen with this case, whether this man is going to be charged with motor manslaughter. And then we had the sad case too of a man who was killed by his girlfriend. Man killed by his girlfriend across the river there, and the girlfriend says a special constable in the Guyana Police Force. A special constable in the Guyana Police Force. Some argument he may have had, and I think I read where he was wounded in the leg. And I made the point before, and I'm making it again, about first aid. Because you get injured in your leg, one, don't expect you to pass. Of course, they have arteries and so on, the femoral artery there in that area, in the groin area and so on. You get injured there, you're in serious trouble. But compression and rush to proper medical attention, stop the bleeding. We got to teach people first aid, man. Because some of these things, when you hear about it, one gets the feeling that if they knew, or if people around were trained in first aid, then might be able to save a life. So I want to express condolences to all those persons, the relatives of those persons who have passed. And, it's always said, especially at this time, as you approach Christmas, I know how it feels. My eldest sister died in 1990. She was sick. And then she died a couple of days before, 3 or 4 days before Christmas. I know what happened there. Christmas canceled that year for me. And I remember it well because I was looking forward for bright Christmas. I had just returned the same year from serving with the United Nations. And I was looking forward to Christmas. And then I got word that my sister died. So I know it's rough around, anytime it's rough, but especially as we approach or as we are into the festive season. So yeah, so that is it. Let me get about the happier announcements. Birthday greetings. Birthday greetings today are going out to Mark Gilbert, retired superintendent. I think when he retired, he was at the police finance office. Mark is one man. Let me tell you all this here now. Yeah, I might not know. Mark is one person that I respect when it comes to remembering regulation numbers. Mark knew everybody regulation number one. All them 50-something police and 60-something police, Mark can tell you the regulation number. And I think that's something you learn from, in my case, I was an instructor at TSU, so you know people by the numbers, by the regulation number. And in Mark's case, he spent a lot of time at the police finance office. So you would know regulation. So Mark is observing a natal day today. Also observing today is Wesley Josiah. He went as Lake, former member, used to be at the Presidential Guard. Of course, even before that, we were members, young teenagers in the Guyana Youth Court together. And Wesley is observing a natal day today. And we have, in terms of birthday coming up, Guy Norris, superintendent, I think he's in Barbies now. He is tomorrow. Then we have former member Charles Watts. What is Watts number? 12 323 or something like that, 12322 or something like that was Watt's number. He's going to be celebrating shortly. Member of Parliament Amanza Walton Nazir, she's going to be celebrating shortly as well. A student, Sean Anthony Ben, the man with the workshop there, he is celebrating shortly too. And Aubrey Retimaya, former major in the Ghana Defense Force, he's going to be celebrating shortly too. So I want to wish all those who are celebrating today, who celebrated recently, and who are going to be celebrating in the near future, all the best for you. Let me bring in CC, and then we're going to make a few more announcements, and then we are going to get on. We got a lot to tell you this afternoon. CC, welcome.
Yeah,
welcome. Go ahead, my brother.
I think I'm seeing you.
Well, I can hear you, so go ahead. I can hear you. It looks like CC has some issues there. So I can see him, I can hear him, but he said that he can't hear me. So let me take him out, and then CC, you can hear me. I will recommend that you log out and log back in to see what happens. Log out, log back in. Yeah, so some technical issue there again with CC. Let me continue. As I've said, the Bordeaux people, all the best to them, Antoine. And there's some disturbing things that have occurred, which I will want to bring. I really want to have CC in this discourse. So again, if you are hearing me, CC, please log out, log back in, because we can't hear you. Let me see if I can bring him in. Are you hearing me, CC? I think he's leaving the studio now. He's leaving. Let me see if he get back in and so on. So we have a lot to tell you. As I said, I want CC to be a part of this discussion. As we said, Christmas around the corner. We noted a recent announcement by the president. I saw at a newsroom that every disabled person in Ghana will get a one-off cash grant of 50,000 Ghana dollars. A one-off cash grant, 50,000. So some people complaining at this time in part what $50,000 could do, and people are complaining. But one of the things that amazed me is the newsroom article said that this $50,000, they claim that they have about 27,000 people who are going to be eligible, and that they claim amounted to about $41 billion. So I said, wait, something wrong. When I got to school, All Fools Day, something wrong. But then Mr. Jordan on Thursday, yesterday morning, he's the maths man. He's the economist and the maths man. He said the thing is 1.3 billion. So I don't know, makes such a big mistake. That is not a mistake. It's part of the old propaganda machine. So they run out to tell you that, okay, government giving out $41 billion, people with disabilities and so on. And the maths and mathsing, the maths wasn't mathsing, right? So Winston had to point out to them, well, I know to them, but he pointed to us that, look, this thing come up to 1.3 something billion dollars, nano $41 billion. And the question about eligibility, that it means, therefore, if you're going to give a cash grant, a one-off cash grant to all disabled people, people tell, yeah, this guy is not easy. Yes, sir, it looks like all the members of cabinet are going to be eligible. A lot of members of parliament are going to be eligible. Many people in uniform are going to be eligible for this disability one-half cash grant. It's very easy, very easy. And some of them calling name who going to be eligible for disability for whatever reason, right? Either physical or otherwise. They're going to be eligible to this $50,000 disability. So all of you, the others who are banking on this cash grant for Christmas, are you continue to bank? They say a promise is a comfort to a fool, right? Before election, oh man, you're going to get the cash grant. Done, before the end of the year. And all of you fall for that BS, right? Good for you. Good for you. And you fall for the BS, you're going to get cash grant. So you run for say you're voting fuck up. If you vote for a cop, what you expect to happen, right? So that is what. Stay and suffer. I want you wait until you get your money for Christmas, for your salary, which you know you're going to get, and calculate and don't worry, they'll promise. By now you're big enough to know them politicians, especially the people with the lines, they promise you all sort of thing, the moons and the stars, and then they dash the shaft for you, and then even put a little grease on the thing. They just put it for you, raw. Let me see CC the back. Let me see if you get the back. CC, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. Just go ahead now, my brother. Go ahead.
Okay. Happy to be in the land of the living, to do God's work. I endorse your statements of sympathy to members of the bereaved families. I want to wish I don't know. Are you hearing me, Paul?
I'm hearing you loud and clear. You go ahead. I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Okay. I want to wish Mark Gilbert a happy birthday. And Paul, he got the gold medal in terms of remembering policemen names and where the station. And he going to tell you about which commander was in A Division, who was his twice C, and all kind of thing there. So, Mark, I want to wish you a happy birthday. I know you're not a blow man, but I know you have many, many more candles to blow out today and in the years to come. And I want to say a special thank you to your wife and your children and grandchildren for keeping you happy. So happy birthday to you, Mark Gilbert.
Yeah. Well, yes, thanks. I tell everybody 50,000 one-off cash grant for people with disability, and they get the royal shaft because a lot of people looking forward to some cash grant for the Christmas, but that ain't gonna come. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. There's a shaft they get, right? There's a shaft they get. Now let me move on. There are some things that bothers me, Let me tell you one of them right off the top. I saw in today's paper, today's Stabrook News, Lethem porters charged with attempt felony against businessman. So they're claiming, very short, 3 paragraphs, some Sion Fraser, 26 of Monkey Mountain Region 8, and Teron Sandwell, 18 of Paramakotai Region 8, both porters, have been charged in connection with an alleged attempt to commit a felony against a businessman of Tabatinga, Central Rupununi Region 9. The 2 persons were arrested on Wednesday, December the 3rd, 2025. The police said in a release that the allegation is that both porters attempted to commit a felony to wit simple larceny. Yesterday, both accused appeared at the Lethem Magistrate Court before Magistrate Omar Dat Chandan, where the indictable charge was read to them. They were not required to enter plea, bail was denied, and they were both remanded to prison. Simple larceny? Attempt, now what is simple larceny? Attempt simple larceny? Now, for the people who are not very versed with these phrases and these terms, simple larceny means larceny in the simplest form. You pick up something, you carry it away, it's not your own, this simple larceny. The larceny, they say the definition, a person who steals, who without consent, you take and carry away anything capable of being stolen with intent at such time of taking permanently to deprive the owner thereof. That is the definition for larceny. But this is, they're claiming that the people attempted to steal something and were caught. Arrested. What I noted, however, before I bring in CC to talk on this matter, is that they said this matter is indictable, right? Indictable. Well, a couple of things here, policemen. Listen out. The fact that this is indictable can relate perhaps to the value of the item. Because if it's a high value item, they attempt to thief a car or some big thing, yes, indictable. Or it can be something of lesser value, but then the incident might, or the allegation is that this might have happened more than 6 months ago. Because if it happened more than 6 months ago, then you cannot bring a summary charge against them. You have to institute an indictable charge, and then at some later stage, you're going to ask for the Administration of Justice Act, the AJA, to be applied. So the matter will then be tried summarily. But to remand two men, an 18-year-old and a 26-year-old, to prison for an attempts larceny, something seems wrong. Something seems wrong. And people are saying, I follow social media, that not so long ago, right at the same letem, right, maybe the same magistrate, I'm not sure, a woman who was charged with a cybercrime. Y'all remember it? She's an ambulance driver, a parent, she got some young child, charged with a cybercrime, went to court, pleaded guilty to the charge, and she was sentenced to 1 year in jail and ordered to pay $1 million fine. Something wrong. Something wrong. Let me repeat that. She pleaded guilty. And I know, and most of us will know, that once you are charged and you go to the court and you plead guilty, in other words, you show yourself to the motions of the court, then that is taken into consideration in sentencing. But one can't believe that that was taken into consideration, and yet still she got 1 year and fined $1 million. This is the type of thing that people cause me to lose faith in the system. And I can tell you about other incidents and so on as we go on. Two men, relatively young men, one is 18, one 26, attempt simple larceny, not burglary, not anything like that. Attempt. In other words, they didn't thief nothing. They attempted to steal it or whatever happened, either they interrupt, remanded to prison. So the guy spent Christmas in prison. And the woman, the ambulance driver, cybercrime, she got up on the internet or phone, she said something, amounted to a cybercrime, report made, she charged, she plead guilty. 1 year in prison and ordered to pay $1 million fine. Something is wrong. Let me bring in CC. CC, something is definitely wrong.
Yeah, the charge sounds very, very, very confusing. And I remember my definition since in training school. A person steals you fraudulently and without a claim of right made in good faith, takes and carries away anything capable of being stolen with intent at the time of taking permanently to deprive the owner thereof. I don't know how it's called indebtable, maybe the value, because you must have value, must have expectation, removal from one point to the next, And looking at it, and then this is mind-boggling. And as you pointed out, Paul, sometimes the thing might be a value of $50, but it happened over 6 months ago, so the offense becomes indebtable, and then they will charge and ask for summary disposal. But it is not clear. It is not clear, and when they're going to make these statements, they need to be very, very clear to members of the public, or the public will go away with a wrong impression. And as you mentioned, one woman cybercrime, 1 year jail, and got to fine $1 million. So the charge doesn't sound right to me. I need more facts before I could put things in proper perspective.
Frankly, don't take chance and attempt to commit no thing. You might unlock. They remanded. I think they remanded until early in January. They remanded January 28th. So you might have put you down until March or sometime next year, so you don't get them seeing that chance and so on. Well, but somebody asked the question if it was shoplifting, given the fact that it's an indictable charge. Because remember, we know that because they say that they were not required to plead. They both accused of plea before the magistrate, where the indictable charge was read to them. They were not required to plea, to enter a plea. So once you're not required to enter a plea, it's because the charge is indictable, right? The magistrate can't take a plea in an indictable charge, right? So if it's, well, even if it's shoplifting, as we said, if it's shoplifting, it had to be that the offense was committed more than 6 months ago, and therefore the police cannot file a summary charge because the statute of limitation would have expired. So you file an indictable charge, and then at some stage you ask for the administration of the Justice Act, which allows for indictable charges once they are hybrid charges to be disposed of summarily. That is a little bit of, well, legalese and all of that to the young policeman, Antoine, and to understand what's going on, right? And staying on the code beat, we spoke about it briefly on Wednesday, and yesterday, charges against Doggy dropped on advice of the DPP. Remember, some months ago, Bradley Sampson called Doggy Big Millie at the Square of the Revolution, right? And the police arrested him. Police charged him for several things. 6 charges he get. 6 charges, the thing, including unlawful possession of firearm. And in the same breath, they told us that no firearm was recovered. Now we told you folks that if you recover firearm, how is it you are going to get a conviction for on unlawful possession of firearm? First of all, it looks like, as we saw, he had something looking like a gun during the course of this thing, and he might have struck, based on what the video showed, somebody. But how do you prove it's a firearm, right? How do you can tender the video? I mean, a lot of people commented about video show. Video can show whatever the video going to show, but somebody has to go into the witness box to tender that and to give evidence. And what made this matter even more disturbing was the fact that, based on what I'm reading, that they charged him for wounding this woman, and there was no medical certificate from the doctor to say that this woman was wounded. But because it's Doggy, and because he been big with Ashuddin Mohammed and them, that he said for Dash looked like the whole book, 6 charges against him. So the DPP has instructed for 5 of the 6 charges to be withdrawn, right? They said, let me read the ones that are withdrawn. He was possession of firearm without license, unlawful carrying of a firearm in public, unlawful wounding, threatening behavior, disorderly behavior, and obscene language. Those were the 6 charges. And then they withdraw all charges except the disorderly behavior. Well, again, let me say this again. Disorderly behavior, based on what we saw, who given this evidence about this disorderly? I learned, and these are used to be prevalent offenses. Indecent language, disorderly behavior, them thing, any little police, your school in that. And one of the main elements, or let me give 2 main elements in disorderly behavior. The person must have spoken above their normal tone, so that you got to prove that. The person spoke above their normal tone, and as a result of that, the crowd gathered. Disorderly behavior. As a result of the behavior of the person speaking above the normal tone, a crowd gathered. And let me say this, young policemen who are listening, they don't necessarily have to use what we call indecent language. Indecent language is a separate charge by itself, as they indicated here, because Doggy was charged for using obscene language. So obscene language is not necessarily an element of disorderly behavior. Understand that. So how do you prove? Because based on what we saw, Doggy's behavior did not attract a crowd. The crowd was there. The crowd went there for something, some payout. The crowd was already there. And this merely with Doggy and this lady. But I said, wounding without a medical? I think what wounding was 30B or something like that. How you go in there? How you going to get a conviction for wounding when you don't get no medical certificate to support the fact that the person was wounded? And I know again from first aid, you got to forget the definition for wounding. A wound is a break in the continuity of the tissue of the skin, which causes blood to flow. First aid days, way back in the 70s, a break in the continuity of the tissue of the skin, which causes blood to flow. And then they taught us, or we taught them, several types of wound: incise wound, contused wound, punctured wound, gunctured wound. Man, look, I know first aid for all them years, and the thing is still there. And that's why I'm insisting Well, I can't insist. That's why I'm recommending that they do foresee in the police training college. They do foresee because these things help in your policing career. Right? So, Dagi, and before bringing CC, they said you got to go back. Well, today, the 5th of December, he should have returned for disclosure. So in all this time, disclosure means they will give him the statements that they have, and he has an attorney representing him. So they will hand over the statements that they have to prosecute this case against Dagi. I would love to see those statements, man. I would love to see those statements. So that is what happening. That is what happening. Again, I say these things result in putting unnecessary pressure on the judicial system with the magistrates and all them. They getting matter before the court, which should have never gone there. And the DPP reviewed the charges. I want to know if the DPP had been involved initially when those charges were instituted. But she withdrew them now, so one can very well argue that the police went ahead and institute the charges, and then also now forget advice and the DPP say, well, withdraw the charges because you won't stand a ghost of a chance to get convictions in those matters. You're wasting the court's time. The magistrate involved could have been doing something better than to send charge for unlawful possession of firearm and all of that when you ain't got no gun. You never recover any gun. When there's medical certificate of the thing. So you got to understand that. You have got to understand that. Let me bring in CC. CC, what are your views on this whole Dagi issue, man?
I think it was political, you know. It didn't have anything to deal with evidence. Political, and because the Dagi, they rush with breakneck speed and charge him. But Paul, you know, I was surprised that they didn't charge him for being in possession of a suspected firearm, you know. I wouldn't be surprised if they charge him for being in possession of a suspected firearm.
Well, yes, you know, all kind of craziness going on. Yeah, they're wasting the court's time, right? Well, somebody asked you to Lula that investigation. That happened nice. That must be waiting for the speaker to return. I know everything now waiting on the speaker to come back. We're gonna deal with them things at a later stage. I see somebody say we must stop lying. Some of you know what they're talking about. Somebody said stop lying. I don't know if it's me that said lying or whoever the lying. Well, we teaching, you know, and we teaching even that person if they are referring to us as lying, even them we teaching. Now, I read recently that the Guyana Defense Force is acquiring 2 new helicopters. I think based on what I read about a week or so ago, the helicopters were in transit. I know they arrived in Guyana yet. And, you know, when you talk about GDF and helicopter, tomorrow, the 6th of December, 2025, will be 2 years since that GDF helicopter crashed, killing how many people? 5 of them, 5 soldiers were killed, right? I remember December the 6th, 2023. December the 6th. Up to now, you can't get a report on that matter. The public can know what happened. And let me remind you all, I made a note. It crashed according to December the 6th. Those killed were Yacht Colonel Michael Sahoud. Michael Sahoud was killed. He was the commander of the 4th Infantry Battalion. You had the retired Brigadier Gary Beaton. See, your wife gone back in Parliament now, right? He was a government of Guyana project engineer. I think he had retired and he had returned to the army to serve. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, who was a pilot. Michael was a well-known pilot around the place. I flew with him on several occasions. You have Lieutenant Colonel Sean Welcome. He was in charge of the Reserve Battalion, the militia people he was in charge, and Staff Sergeant Jason Khan. They were all killed on that fateful day. The reports, not reports, but a lot of posts on social media as to what happened and so on. They couldn't do it, black box damage, and a whole set of things, right? But the strange thing of that in that matter, the strange thing, which makes it even more perplexing that we can't hear nothing, is that there were 2 survivors. There were two survivors, right? Lieutenant Andio Crawford, right? And Corporal Dwayne Jackson. They survived. This is a very strange thing because they say that Michael Kahn, who was the pilot, and Gary Beaton, who was a passenger, Brigadier Gary Beaton, were burnt beyond recognition. And the co-pilot, Lieutenant Andy Crawford, escaped without any real injuries. So always said that the pilot and the co-pilot, because they're supposed to be sitting alongside each other, they were supposed to sit there, and the pilot burnt beyond recognition. The brigadier burnt beyond recognition. And the co-pilot, and no big serious injury. Well, people said that the only injury he suffered is loss of memory because he can't tell, he has never made a statement as far as we are aware. The public is kept in the dark. And then Jerry Govaya, remember him? National Security Advisor came out with a statement to say that the Commander-in-Chief will release a report and so on. And a couple of days after he said so, Jagdeo shoot it down. Jagdeo said, no, not the Commander-in-Chief. The Defense Board will consider and make a release. They said it had to go to certain stakeholders and all them everything. Well, that stake is really well done. That stake. There's the STAKE, STEAK. That stake really well done because up to now, you can't hear. 2 years. Imagine that. 2 years. It looked like the brigadier's wife was rewarded with a return to Parliament. I can talk about Parliament a little bit more. But you got to remind them of these things. I see that is a problem that you have in Guyana. All of these things have a limited shelf life. And that is what this corrupt government capitalizes on. Couple of morning, they're in the media and so on, and then little after gone. Look at Adriana Young. That little child that was killed across the river there at Double D, at Tushan. People don't forget about Adriana Young. People look at Peters and the other guy at Linden who were killed, right? People don't forget. In Peters' case, policeman charged, Kendall charged. The other matter that the crime chief said, well, CID is not investigating that. You can't hear anything more about that. And people don't forget. That is what happens. People forget and they capitalize on that. A very limited, short shelf life, and then people move on to a next thing. CC, let me bring you in to have you say on this GDF helicopter thing. Two new helicopter coming. 2 new helicopter coming, that is what was reported. And 2 years since this one crashed, we can't hear anything more. Your take.
I wonder if the two crash on their way. But this one is very mysterious. We don't know if it was a crash. We don't know what was their mission. That they open up themselves to a lot of conspiracy theory. That people say in the Venus shoot them down. We don't know. What mind-boggling is that the pilot born beyond recognition and a passenger and the co-pilot who should have been next to the pilot didn't receive a scratch. Is it that they left those two survivors elsewhere and went their merry way and encountered difficulties and we had what took place there, the death of the 5 persons? It's mind-boggling. And the more they don't give us information, the more other theories will come into play. Here it is, 7 of them, 5 gone beyond the world, and 2 remain, and they get dumb. They not talk. At one time, they lock them away in a house in Lamar Gardens. I know we there now, but it's mysterious, but we need to know how you want the public to have confidence in the government, in the Guyana Defense Force, when they're not forthright. 7 left, Camp Ghana, And when you look at the video, I look at the video, that helicopter took a long time to lift off. I unusually long time to lift up from Camp Pangano. Was there a mechanical problem? Is it that it's straight away in hostile territory and trying to get back, and they ended up where they ended up? And what happened to the two? One there in that chapel, one there in that chapel where they been, or them themselves been on their own runnings? We need to know, and we need to know quickly, and we need to know the truth.
You know, it has been rumored, it has been alleged that the report is so damning that they're hiding it. That is what is being suggested in some quarters. That this report so bad that they decide take the chance because they know nobody gonna make nice. Who gonna make nice? The relatives of the deceased person, maybe they can just get a compensation and that's it. But that is the problem that we have. Lack of transparency. Now come, let me lighten up a little and we get cricket in the air. Let me say this to Porcy and Aileen and JK and all these cricket fans, CC and all, yeah. We got to compliment the West Indies team for the showing in this test match. They have been able to put the test match into the 5th day. Shehope, and 100 in the skin, right? He is a class above the rest. There's absolutely no doubt about that. He's a class above the rest, right? So he's up there, up with the best. So I got to congratulate them for the regard effort, I must say, and for putting this test match into the 5th day. I mean, they got to hope they can bat and survive the day. Hope perhaps rain comes in, because if you're in New Zealand, rain does fall all day, all of a sudden. Hope that rain comes so they can salvage a draw, right? But congratulations to them. And on this, I say this, many times, many of us, you want them to win, but when they lose, you gotta lose your dignity, man. You gotta lose your dignity. We can take that. One of them blow out with this get, and then we go across. That is in New Zealand over the sea. I think it's the Tasman Sea there to Australia. Well, there is a nice match developing there. Australia and England in the Ashes, right? Australia first day, England bat 9 wickets down. They men clean them up early in the morning. I think 3:40 something. Australia has a lead or they have a lead of what? 60 something or something like that. That is a good match. That gonna end that look like you're going for a result again. And let's see how that will go. Michelle Stark, you can't stop it. Talking about Brazil, should have also complimented Kemar Roach. The old man come back, 37 years old, pick up 5 wickets. He now at what, 291 overall. I think 5th on the West Indies ladder, which is led by Courtney Walsh, followed by Ambi. Then after them is, I think, Marshall, Lance Gibbs, and then Roach at 291. Right? So we got to hope that they give you a couple more games so you could break the 300 wicket mark. And well, Michelle Stark is just outstanding. Imagine in 4 consecutive innings, this man get a wicket in the first over. Outstanding. So let's follow and see what is going on there. Right? So I thought I'll mention that to you guys. And we had asked the question on the last day, they talk about transparency. What happened to Mark Ramatar, the head, or should I say former head of the police corporate communications unit? Again, transparency, if the man left the work, what is wrong with telling people that he has left, right? I don't think anybody there could lie like how we used to lie. So come up with something, man. Come up. But I understand the man Chuck. I understand he was called and he was spoken to roughly. And the man said, he ain't taking them talking from no dunce and he ain't any resignation. That is what I understand, right? That is what I understand. And let me tell you too this, you remember the acid throwing incident? Like I'm bringing CC after. Remember the acid throwing incident where the one big confusion. They charge a man for throwing acid. This is the two ladies from Balwant Singh Hospital threw the acid. They in the release claim that this person, one particular person, hired the next man to throw this acid on them because of some breakup in relationship, and the nurse and he had a relationship, and then they break up, and she tell his wife about the relationship. So he hired somebody, and yet still they charge he for throwing. They charge he for throwing, not as an accessory, right? But they charge he as a principal in the first degree. I see is yesterday or today, they charge arrest the next man now, and they charge he for throwing too. So how many people threw this acid and this? You see, that is why when you go to court now, you get difficulty. Them lie get easy work. Because you charge one person before with the same offense, and now you're charging someone else for throwing the acid. So are you saying that both of them threw the acid? Because remember, the first man, you didn't charge he as being an accessory. You charge he with throwing. That reminds me of a countryman I had. You should call it, I know if any the older BV people can remember, you had a son used to call it Dem Throw. Dem Throw was his name. Where he went to ambush a certain man. They had some altercation, and he went to ambush. He went under the man's step, waiting for him when he come from the cinema, and he dropped asleep. And when the man came, the man hear he snoring under the step, and the man looked through the window and called his wife, pass the thing, is little acid. And when she passed it, the man dashed the acid when he run up the road, Dem Throw. People ask you, what them throw? Dem Throw. That is what happening. So it's both of them throw, this acid and this lady. Again, these are the things that cause prosecutions to go down the road. Prosecutions. Because when you come up there, they're going to question it. You did charge somebody before, and now you're charging somebody else. So both of them, you're saying both of them through this acid and this young lady. Let me bring in CC, man. He get away. He can perhaps explain some of these things that are unexplainable to me. CC, the Mark Ramatar and this acid thing.
Well, I heard Ramatar say, no dunce man can talk to you, no dunce man can rough you up. But let me wait and see whether or not he's there or he is gone. And you're so correct with it throwing at the acid, Huh? Principle in the first degree, principle in the second degree, accessory before, accessory after the fact. And nobody don't check these files. They just pick up just on and charge people. Plenty time you're hearing files gone to BBP, files gone to DB, but like the important ones don't go anywhere. And let me just backtrack a bit, with the West Indies team, I'm pleased with the performance. I think they did a damn good job to carry it into the fifth day. I watched part of the match, and then I say, hey, it was me and Mrs. Conway they watching the matches. So girl, I get and sleep. Hey, she watched them all and said, no, I got and sleep. And some subsequently she wake me up. Come, get up. She up making the century. She up near to the century, And I got up and I watched the century. And I watch highlights of the Australian, Joe Root, wonderful batsman. I think that is 40th century about the place there. And Mitchell Stark, super bowler, super. And then he left arm fast bowler, Gaffer be dangerous, So let's hope that the West Indies can bat on a bit, But for me, I'm pleased with their performance in this particular test, and let's hope that is an indication of things to come.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's keep our fingers crossed. These little baby steps you gotta appreciate and admire. Somebody asked me, hey, as well set me up. Bet want to know who is the dunce man. You gotta ask Mark Ramatar. Is Mark Ramatar say no dunce can't give you no instruction. No instruction. So you ain't taking them type of talk from no dunce. So ask Mark Ramatar, man. Ask Mark. Now, moving on. Moving on. Let me compliment the police. Yes, I do that from time to time. Compliment the police. I see the firearm, ammunition, and cash seized in Linden. 30-year-old businessman arrested. This is a report which said the Ghana Police Force is investigating the discovery of a suspected of suspected firearms, ammunition, and cash following an operation conducted today, Wednesday, December the 3rd, at Redwood Crescent, Mackenzie, Linden, which resulted in the arrest of a 30-year-old businessman. Stick a pin. You charge doggy, you never get a gun. You charge doggy, you don't get a gun. You get a gun now, or guns now, and it's still suspected firearms. Yeah, you see the type of inconsistency that you got to point out. Doggy, you see some video, I think, with Daggy brandishing what appears to be a firearm, and he's charged with unlawful possession of firearm. Now you carry out this raid, whatever it was, you discover guns, but it's suspected firearms and ammunition. Suspected firearm and ammunition. Continue. During the operation, ranks conducted a search at the house occupied by the 30-year-old. While searching a bedroom in the upper flat, ranks found a suspected Glock 19 9mm pistol and a suspected Polymer 80 9mm pistol. 6 magazines and a total of 56 9mm rounds, not suspected rounds, right? We know it's 56 9mm rounds concealed beneath the flooring of the bedroom. Additional searches uncovered $6,915,000 Guyana dollars and $7,445 US dollars in a wardrobe in the same bedroom. The 30-year-old is present in custody, and the suspected firearm and cash were lodged pending investigation. Now, again, good work to take off illegal firearms off the street. I wonder who is this man. Y'all check it to see what business this man is in, what type of connection and so on. Y'all think? Because when they come and they tell us, they didn't say on this occasion, but when they tell you about an intelligence-led operation, me antennas go up. Me antennas go up. Because most intelligence-led operation is when when thieves fall out. When thieves fall out and somebody, they're going to snitch on the other person, right? But having recovered these firearms, suspected firearm, suspected ammunition, and all of that, I hope that you make sure you work to get evidence to convict this person. You got to talk about the possession, whether it was constructive or actual possession. I hope y'all did forensic to see if you could get the man print and all this everything on this firearm. Oh, well, in terms of the money, me I know if it's against the law to have that type of money and so on, but part of the investigation. But the most important part here, and that's given this release, is to make sure that this investigation is done in such a manner that evidence is acquired to get a conviction. And that is usually the problem. Because they would run in the alley with a hold the gun and love the gun and thing, they do all this other thing, and therefore contaminate whatever forensic evidence might have been there. Again, we talk about training. Because when you go on a raid, like any raid for that matter, and you see a firearm, right? First thing, should be no haste to remove the firearm. Why you get photographs? You get video evidence to show these things? I'm sure they did not. You had the evidence back to put the thing inside and take it to the lab to have it properly checked? I'm sure they did not. That has to be part of the training. That has to be part of the training. When you go into these scenes, when you go to some place and you see something that is suspected to be unlawful, how it is handled, how it is treated. Look at the nexus and all of that, right? Look at the nexus, very important. Got the next you want to talk about nexus? I talk about who find the gun, who they hand it over to, who took it to be examined, how it all those important. You try as far as possible to cut down on the number of people handling. Because the more people handle and they got to go in the boxes, field day for them liars. Let me bring in CC for him to comment on that. Right? CC? Yeah. This firearm.
I'm happy that firearm of the road. But my issue with the police, and this is a long outstanding issue, is that police don't execute search warrants. They don't apply for warrants. They don't go to the court to get warrants. They don't go to a justice of the peace. And more so, you're saying it is intelligence led. So if it's intelligence led, you have the information and you have to go and get a search warrant, or you'll be violating the Constitution of Guyana. Article 143 says, except with his or her own consent, no person shall be subject to search of his or her person or his or her property or entry by others on his or her own premises. They are violating the Constitution and the rights of citizens. All here they go and they search, or here they go and they said they told the persons the reason they were there for and requested search, and people open the door and search. A man no get also the illegal drugs and fireman thing, he gonna just invite you for come in there. Do the correct thing. Arm yourself with a search warrant. Because any good liar, I'm gonna use the American term, would say it is the forbidden fruit of the poisonous tree. It means to say that it was illegally obtained. The firearm illegally obtained. And we go back to Genesis. In the beginning, remember when Adam and Eve, we read, pick and eat the forbidden fruit. And here it is, we have, they're picking the forbidden fruit of the poisonous tree, and any good lawyer in court will move to suppress that evidence. And if they suppress that evidence, out goes the case. Out goes the case, because they ain't get nothing to hold on to. And as Paul, you mentioned, possession, actual or constructive possession. Actual or constructive possession, and how you handle it. How you handle depends on the amount of people you see. Everybody must say, oh, yeah, let me see, boy, let me see, you. No. And you mentioned also, you found it there, photograph it. Do what you gotta do. Get a ballistic man to check it, to see whether it is a weapon under the Firearm Act. But far too often, and it becomes a norm now, that they're rushing into people's place and search. So they're searching for drugs. So they're searching for arms and ammunition. So the thing there, when they supposed to be covered with a warrant issued by a court or a justice of the peace. And more so, they're saying is intelligence led. So you already get information. So by the time you go to the premises, you must have the warrant with you. You must have the warrant. I can't tell when last, over the past couple of years, I read that the police executed a search warrant and find X, Y, or Z. Maybe somebody could prove me wrong.
We're talking about suppression of evidence. Because the contention is that the evidence was unlawfully acquired. There's a very interesting case going on now in New York. About a year ago, the CEO of United Healthcare in the US was killed by a man in Manhattan. He was walking, man shot him and killed him. The man was arrested in Pennsylvania, I think, about some days after. Somebody saw him, recognized him, called 911, police responded, they got him there. When they arrested him, they say he had electronic devices, computer and so on him. Now that the matter has gotten to the court, you know what's the big issue? When last I checked, that the lawyers representing the accused are trying to prevent, they're trying to suppress the evidence obtained from the computer of this suspect. I guess they're arguing that it wasn't lawfully obtained. You have to cover yourself, man. And that is something that the police should be taught. And as CT said, you're saying that it's intelligence-led, which suggests that you knew beforehand that or some illegal thing might go and get a warrant. Go and get a warrant. And it will be interesting to see what time this search was carried out. Because a warrant permits you to search between certain times, 8 o'clock in the night, I think up to 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, between 5 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the night. Unless it is specifically stated in the warrant, the time any other time is specifically stated in the warrant. Right? So these are the things that they must teach these ranks. And one would suspect that if you carry out a raid, most likely they have supervisors. They must know these things. They must know these things and make sure that you do the right thing. Now let me move on. Mr. Watts, I can't call you on the phone or so on and advise you and so on. But I'm going to do it publicly. I'll do it publicly. I know that today, this afternoon, they have this big ceremony in Main Street. I know it's possible because I understand rainfall and the whole place flood out. So I know it's possible. But first of all, I have to compliment you for seeking to put together an operational order, because we have always said that when you get these activities, you have to have an operational order. So I see your order, you want to know, see it? I saw your order, right? First thing, the order, according to you, Mr. Watts, is an order by Commissioner of Police Clifton Ikin, right? I note that you're you put the MBA behind the name because you know the MBA is Mr. Brutus' accomplice. MBA, Mr. Brutus' accomplice. Now, you can't put the order, or if the order is by the commissioner, you can't sign in your capacity as Deputy Commissioner of Operations at the bottom of the order. Can't work that way. If you are going to sign, you have to sign for the commissioner. You see, these are things, I'm sorry, years ago, I would have got you all in classroom and teach you these things. These things are important. You can't have an order by the Commissioner of Police and then you sign as Deputy Commissioner of Operations. No way. That don't work, sir. If it's your order, well, then fine. But this is an order by the Commissioner of Police. And therefore, his designation needs to be at the bottom and you can sign for him. But you can't put Deputy Commissioner of Operations and sign when the order is by the Commissioner of Police. Now you understand that, right? The second thing I want to point out to you, you really don't understand this concept about the command structure, gold, silver, and bronze. Yeah, in the order, the commissioner is the gold commander. Fine, nothing wrong with that. You are the silver commander. I have my doubts about that. But then, you have deputy commissioners as bronze commander. You know what? Who are bronze commanders? Bronze commanders have to be on the ground. So you're suggesting that those deputy commissioners that you have there, the man in charge of crime, he is bronze commander for crime. He can up on the ground. The man in charge of traffic, the assistant commissioner, he is bronze commander. No way. As I said long ago, you would have learned this formally in some classroom, but they don't happen now. So I got to come out here. If you feel offended, that is up to you. That is up to you. It does not work. You can have a deputy commissioner as a bronze commander. Bronze commanders go right down to the level, some inspector, some ASP, or even a sergeant. They are in charge of specific sections. So, for example, you have Main Street where this activity is taking place, and you sectorize Main Street, maybe from by the Cenotaph to Home Street, there's one sector. You have a bronze commander in charge of that sector. Some sergeant, inspector, some officer. And similarly, the man on the ground in charge of traffic is a bronze commander traffic. You might have more than one bronze commander in charge of traffic. Same thing with CID. If you have a patrol, bronze command in charge of patrol. The bronze commanders are the people who are on the ground. And I see order you say you get the deputy commissioners, the people with same rank with you are bronze commanders. You made the order, which is a good thing. There are other mistakes in the order, which I'm not going to think, other mistakes. But those are the two serious ones. Can't have an order issued by the commissioner of police and you signing as deputy commissioner operations. Can't. Don't walk that way. And you can't have the man in charge of CID, the deputy commissioner in charge of CID is the bronze commander in charge of crime. Because I'm sure he ain't going up on the road and dealing, he sit down in some office. Bronze commanders are in the field, in the operational area, dealing with the matters on the ground. So that's what you got to understand. Let me bring in CC to think. So what's I know OPN put together a tribal union to deal with this, but let me understand how this thing is work. And at that level, it is disappointing to me that at them senior levels, these basic things you don't know. CC, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a chance to look at it. Some things I will not say, but some things I will mention. Because as I know it, it's information, it's intention, it's method, it's administration, and it's communication. Yes, they had information. Then the next one was intention. And then shockingly, after you get all the intention, they put what you call a risk assessment. Risk assessment has got to come in the information, and then you have your intention. And as part of the risk assessment, there is a likelihood of crowd management issues and an increase in street crimes and traffic congestions. There's a likelihood of management issues and an increase in street crimes and traffic congestions. And then when you're going to write your operation order, you gotta be specific. You can't say adequate ranks from traffic adequate ranks, adequate number of ranks, traffic control, and crime patrol. You got to be specific. You can't say about adequate ranks at that level. What is adequate ranks? 10 ranks? 12 ranks? There are quite a number of issues. I will not go public here. But I'm happy that they started to think about gold, silver, and bronze commanders, although they didn't get the correct concept. But I think they're going to learn. And I'm happy when they have these events. Apparently now they are doing operation order, because that is your guideline. That is the order that you have to work with. I remember when I was in the force and the persons in Linden gave notice of 1 week of protests. I remember Leroy Brummel was commissioner of police. Clifton Hicken, and I could talk with authority, was the commander for ENF division. And I told Brummel, was 3 days before the event, I said when he can come to this meeting, he must come with an operation order, how he would police this 1 week of events. He must have it in writing. I remember he came to the meeting, he talked about the things, but he didn't talk about the operation order. And I told Brummel, I said, the man and talk about an operation order. So he can say, Brummel said, hey, can you operation order? Yeah, it's all right, get things under control. If they do nonsense, I go sort them out. If they do nonsense, I go sort them out. We never had an order. and issues. And the part of it, the intelligence that we got that I share is that they would block the bridge from the Wismar end. You can say, if they misbehave, we're going to sort them out. And he did sort them out with deadly consequences. 3 persons were killed. So the point I'm making is that the operation order is your guide. How are you going to police the event? And even in this order that I see what's in, they had briefing, but they didn't put time for the briefing. And they had debriefing, but then, like, they wouldn't get any debriefing because there was no time for any debriefing. That you must have briefing for your ranks. I must have debriefing shortly after the event. So the point I'm making, I'm happy that they're attempting to, to put things in order when they are major events, that they have something in writing and all the event, talking about information, intention, method, administration, and communication. I won't go into details in terms of the method and the administration and those kind of things. But it's an effort they're making, and I hope that they were able to modify the document. And as you go along the line, and as you do it regularly, it will become like a walk in the park. So let them continue in this way. Major events, before the events, you have the operation order and you brief people, and at the end of the event, you do a debriefing.
Right, let me move on. Yeah, share. We come into some. I can talk now about this policeman from Northwest. Huh? The policeman from Region 1. What shoot up and thing there? Right. Now, I don't know. I really don't know what to say about these people. Incompetence is not a good thing. It's so prevalent with them that even a matter like this, you see so much incompetence. Right? And let me explain what I mean. We know, may I go into the background? Last week, we saw the drunken policeman. They say drunk, I don't know how to say drunk, with an assault rifle. They say it's a AK-47. He went down the road, pointing it at people and all this other thing. You see, they say, pointing at people, threatening people, and all that type of thing. That is what he was doing. And rungs were fired and so on. We learned that there was an attempt early by the commander, at least that was alleged, to cover up the matter. Because he instructed them, don't make no entry and all this type of thing. However, an entry was made by someone, and like they flash it. The man who is suspected to have done that, I understand he was transferred. Yesterday, God said too that the person involved, this policeman, was transferred from Port Kaituma, where this incident occurred, to Matthews Ridge. And we question transfer. That is all you're going to actually take. Well, maybe that was a temporary thing. And I said, OPR will be investigating. Now, yesterday, I read Starbrook News wrote to say DPP advises the drunken cop be interdicted, charged with neglect of duty. That is what I said. And then it comes out to say further investigation ordered on more serious charges. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, has advised that the drunken cop who was observed in the video brandishing an AK-47 assault rifle at Port Kaituma be interdicted and charged with neglect of duty, and that further investigations into the erasing incident be done. Let me stop right there and analyze that first paragraph. They say that the DPP advised that the drunken cop who was observed in a video brandishing an AK-47 rifle at Port Kaituma be interdicted and charged with neglect of duty, and further investigations into the erasing incident be done. I can't imagine a director of public prosecutions can give an advice like that, because it rang all over. You cannot interdict and charge. You cannot. There's no law that allows for that. In this case, this man, if you wanted to charge him departmentally, as I explained on Wednesday, you give it the notice, give it the charge sheet, and after that, the commissioner can interdict him according to section 17, Police Discipline Act 1701, I think it's section 10, can be interdicted after he has been charged with a disciplinary offense. After he has been charged. But they're saying, I hope they're wrong, that DPP tell them interdict and then charge. Can't happen. Cannot happen legally, right? And I told you all, I mentioned before, and that is the thing that sometimes is very bothersome because these things are explained to them, but like they head so damn hard, they can't understand. In a case like that, the man, if you want to get him off the job, as we explained already too, put him on administrative leave. You cannot interdict him unless he is charged. If he is charged criminally as he is now, then you can interdict him from duty pending the outcome of the charge, the criminal charge. If you wanted to deal with it departmentally, you can charge him first, departmentally under section 1701, Police Discipline Act. And once he gets his charge sheet, then you can interdict him until the outcome of the charge. They got to understand these things. This is what the law says. You can't interdict the person and then the charge. If you want, you can send him off on administrative leave, as you did to Mandel, even though you bring him back, and this is Service Commission. And I told y'all, the authority for that can be found in the case Moti Duki versus the Attorney General and David Ramnarine. Moti Duki is the officer, it was at Christmas time too, who was alleged to be smuggling cases and cases of whiskey from Suriname. He was the officer in charge of the squad, as the SWAT unit. He was charged, right? He was there, and at the time there was no police service commission. There was no police service commission, and Ramnarine, who was carrying out the functions of police commissioner, and Mr. Felix, who was carrying out the functions as the Minister of National Security, they decided they're going to use the public service rules, a clause in the public service rule, to send him off. He challenged it. And you know who is the person who took it up there? Drum roll. You know who? That same man, Nosef, is the person who took the matter. And the judge, Justice Corbin, ruled that they have no authority. The only authority that could have sent Duki on leave it was the Police Service Commission. And since there was no Police Service Commission, he could not have been lawfully sent on leave, right? On this administrative leave. And that is the case, that is the precedent that has been set. So in the case of an inspector and above, up to assistant commissioner, the Police Service Commission, administrative leave or interdiction, after your charge is interdiction. And in the case of people from sergeant and down, the commissioner of police interdict if you're charged, and or administrative leave during the course of the investigation. These things I don't understand. How y'all don't understand these things, man. Y'all let like brick. Right? I gotta cuss y'all out, I gotta abuse y'all, I gotta use expletives, I gotta abuse you. So that's what the DPP, they said the DPP said. All right, let me go on. According to the source, while it is more than likely the gun-toting rank, Police Constable 26860 Henry, will be charged with more serious offenses such as endangering the lives of persons, as the assault rifle went off twice. The police have to conduct further investigations to, quote, clear up certain issues. When it was pointed out that the police constable was seen on video with the weapon, which was fired twice, the source maintained that there needs to be more investigations, which I agree with. Then, quote, the source is telling Sabrukusa, now, quote, remember, all ends have to be tied up because the matter will be taken to the courts, and you don't want anything to happen there. The evidence has to be clear, end of quote. Then the source go on again to say, for now, he will be interdicted from duties and charged with neglect of duties because he failed to enter into the station book that he was removing the high-powered weapon from the station. That is what Stabrook News was told. Quote again, the police now have to conduct further investigations and return the file to the DPP for further advice. That was reported, Stabrook News, on the 4th. That's yesterday, right? Now this morning paper, cop remanded over drunken rampage at Kaituma with AK-47. So them are done this for the investigation already. And then it says here, Police Constable Daniel Henry, who was videoed in a drunken rampage brandishing an AK-47 rifle, was yesterday charged with possession of a firearm with intent to injure and remanded. He was charged with possession of a firearm with intent to injure, and he was remanded. They said Henry 20 appeared at the Port Kaituma Magistrate Court via Zoom before Magistrate Rabindranath Singh, where the charge was read to him. He was not required to plead, bail was refused, and he was remanded to prison. The matter was adjourned to January 14, 2026. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions advised on Wednesday that the cop be interdicted and charged with neglect of duty, and that further investigations into the erasing incident be done. According to the source, while it is more than likely he will be charged with more serious offenses, such as endangering the lives of persons and blah, 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 they go on to say. Again, I say, the charges, the DPP said on Wednesday, or yesterday, the 4th, according to the report. So I guess what they mean the day before, right? Interdict and then charge you. That can't happen. That cannot happen. You can't interdict first. Now that he's charged, he can be interdicted. But here's the dilemma. I can bring in CC just now. Here's the dilemma. You see, when they don't understand the system, they make these basic mistakes, right? Unless you're going to cowboy, because a kid is known to cowboy people, meaning dismiss them when he ain't got no authority to do so. Because as it is now, Henry is presumed to be innocent. You can't dismiss him legally like this. Can't. You charge him criminally. And let me say this in case you all know. Now that you have instituted criminal charge against him, you can't proceed with departmental charges. You all get the R's before the card before the R's. If I were an advisor, I would have advised you to charge him with one or more disciplinary offenses under 1701 of the Police Discipline Act. And there's several. First of all, they got several. The man been in civilian clothes when he should have been duty. Or we get the gun. They said the man left the point where he was put, that section 4E3. What a good. The point of duty to which you have been ordered without due permission or sufficient cause. 4E3 of 1701. Charge him departmentally. A good officer would have ensured that he get the notice, he get the charge sheet, he plea, and then if you want, plea, dismiss him. So by the time he got to court, he go to court as a civilian. But now that you have charged him criminally, them disciplinary charge where the DPP talk about neglected duty and thing, you got to put up on ice. You have to put that on ice. Can't proceed with him now. Or of course, by now you'd have interdicted him once he's interdicted. So they're going to run, and nothing can happen. He did the same thing again with Thurston Simon. When the DPP recommended, Simon was one of those guys with the Quindon Bacchus murder. The DPP recommended departmental charge for him, along with some other charge. He dismissed him, no matter no departmental charge, no matter the recommendation from the DPP. So I would not be surprised if he goes down the same road again and dismiss this man, Henry, unlawfully. And here, let me tell you something, because some of y'all has got it wrong. Now, yeah, some people has got it wrong. I am supporting what is wrong do. I supporting the rule of law. I am supporting the rule of law. I am supporting due process. I am supporting the Constitution. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Right? Let me bring in Mr. Conway. I got more to talk about this, but let me bring in CC for to say this matter, and then I'll come back. CC, what are your views about this rush to charge Henry, this man who was seen brandishing this firearm and all that? Your take?
Well, maybe a bit of politics come into play there, It became public knowledge, and they were saying for cover-up. I agree, look at the serious charges and give him the charge. You charge and then you interdict. You don't interdict and then you You ask him to charge. And there need to be a proper investigation of the operations of the police in that division. The operation of the police in that division. Too many things. Oh man could come and walk in the police station, tell a female couple, look, give me the key for the strong box, collect the key, collect the gun, and gone away as we allege, and threatening people and do all kind of thing. There are no checks and balance. There were any record made in the arms and ammunition book, the movements of arms and ammunition? How do you issue weapons? Is any little report you any little report you're giving them those AK-47, or you're giving a .38? And what about the role of the station sergeant in terms of his issuing of arms and ammunition? Let me tell you a little story. When I was a corporal at Mabroom, at one time in charge of the police station, the other detective corporal there, he wanted to go on a report. And he went to the sentry and told the sentry that he wanted a weapon to go, a .38. So the sentry came to me. I said, he can't get anything weapon. And he came to me, he was highly annoyed. I want to go on a report, and I want a weapon. I said, a report that you go on, it doesn't necessitate that you be armed. That you be armed. And he got real annoyed, and he went to the officer, your friend, Ball, Ignatius Brown. And Ignatius Brown was very, very vibrant man in those days. And Brown said, let me tell you something, Corporal. If the man in charge of the station say you can't get gun for go, you can't get gun for go. And you go yourself and you and do yours. And the detective corporal went, and he came back 1 hour ago, and he got the man that he had wanted. So there are rules and regulations in relation to the issue of firearms, and who must get what, and what weapon people must go with. And then they got to look at the bigger picture, the conduct of that division. The conduct of that division. What's going on? Too many things happening in the division. And this is an opportunity now to do a proper audit, inspection of that division. The time is overripe for this to be done. Well, is Romano there down there? And Romano is the top man's son. The top man will say, there's me son. You all about me, there's me son. So the things will happen if you don't put a stop into it now.
Well, I get some same questions to ask. The rank is charged criminally, and they're suggesting that maybe you're gonna get other charges. But what happened to the system? Are you gonna do a systems audit? Because it is clear that something is wrong with the system. How is this man allowed to get this firearm? A assault rifle dressed in some shard pants and so on. They say he should have been working. One report suggests that he went to work and then he went and he drink. While he should have been on duty, he didn't drink. Then what happened? They say he got into some altercation with somebody. He got to the station where he was able to get this rifle and then went out there, as we saw, brandishing it, firing it off, and so on. All that took place. Any proper investigation must also deal with the old command structure. What I was supervision there. Wasn't there an SO? This man, I understand, get less than 2 years service, The man has less than 2 years service. How is it? And 2 years service, you're determined to be a probationer. How is it he can go into the station and get an assault rifle and come out like that. I understand too, the man hadn't no proper training. I understand the government brought in some people what they call like that, no real training, they say was part of their diversity program. Because he is an indigenous person, part of the diversity program. So they bring in no training. Yeah, diversity, you can seek to bring them in, but he has to go through proper training. Has to go through proper training. You know, when you hear when you hear the thing, you might discover you never even trained to use a firearm that they gave to him. I would not be surprised if that comes out during a proper investigation. What happened to the sub-divisional officer? What happened to the divisional commander? This matter requires a thorough systems audit. What rules they have? As CC said, there's a standing order which deals with the issue. Standing order 18, I think it is. Talk about firearms and all these type of things. Right? I really can't understand when you look at that thing. It is mind-boggling that I'm a drunken constable force. He drunk on duty. There is a charge. He get in civilian clothes. There is a charge. Right? Then he left the station where there is a charge. Right? Then those are departmental charges I'm talking about. Then you come with the criminal charges. You get so many. Causing public terror. They charge him here, as I said, he's charged with possession of a firearm with intent to injure. Possession. So the fact that he fired his gun and all this type of thing, that doesn't factor in this first charge. The fact that he fired the gun and endangered the life of people, including his own life, that is not factored in because all I said he was charged with possession of the firearm. And they're walking on thin ice there because if he is a police, I know the answer on lawful possession, because if he is a police, by virtue of his office as a policeman, he's allowed to carry firearm. He's allowed to carry. Who gave him the firearm? Who allowed him to have access to the firearm? All those people should be culpable. All. So I don't know this charge what they have. Well, let me say this. A charge is read to him yesterday or whenever. There's nothing wrong with at a later stage they implement or new charges, right? Institute new charges. Nothing wrong with that. So maybe they're gonna listen and they're gonna decide we're gonna institute new criminal charges because the window or the gate for the departmental charges have closed. The gates have closed, right? So let me understand this clearly. And then let me say this to you know, the old story is, as I said, will there be a comprehensive audit? The question, was he working alone? All of these questions must be answered, and I would hope that the minister will demand that a thorough investigation be done and give them a deadline. This is not something that can take forever. Give them a deadline. The minister should seek to have a report on this matter ASAP. ASAP. And that will be within your jurisdiction, minister. You want to see a report on this matter? Want to see a report? Now we have a little time left. I'm sure I can done the next subject. Share the life, man. Share the life. We can deal with your favorite. Well, I'll deal with the statement or statements allegedly made by the Attorney General, Anil Nandlal, SC, MP, right? Some of these things, I can't imagine someone in a high office like the Attorney General of Guyana can be speaking so loosely about legal matters. I'm referring here to the non-swearing in or the non-election of the leader of the opposition. That's what I'm speaking of. He is alleged to have said, right, and I didn't hear it myself because on his program, every Tuesday night, he has a program, Issues in the News, where he go and he rambles and he say all kind of nonsense-ness, right? Now, he says, according to the headline here, and this is HGPTV News yesterday, fugitive offender as opposition leader would be national embarrassment, that's what the AG is alleged to have said. And the article says Attorney General Anil Nandlal, SC, they left out the dash and the MP, says the delay in electing Guyana's next opposition leader will be resolved as soon as the Speaker of the National Assembly, Mansour Nadir, returns to the country. But he argues that the national debate is focused on the wrong problem. On his weekly issues in the news broadcast, Nandlal acknowledged the public concern surrounding the stalled vote, including a recent Stabrook News editorial warning about the impact on democratic governance. Still, he insisted the appointment is merely waiting on the Speaker to convene the necessary sitting of Parliament. Quote, it is publicly known that the Speaker is overseas, end of quote, Nandlal said. Quote again, once he returns, the process will proceed within the rules and the leader of the opposition will be elected. There is no doubt about that, end of quote. Nandlal warns of, quote, unprecedented threat, end of quote, to Parliament reputation. What he believes is being ignored, however, is the profile of the man expected to assume the role, Wind Party leader and businessman Azzuddin Mohammed, who remains under U.S. indictment for alleged financial crimes and is currently facing extradition proceedings. Quote, that issue carries far greater consequences than a procedural delay, end of quote, Nandlal argued. He described the situation as a force of its kind dilemma, not only for Guyana, but possibly anywhere in the English-speaking Caribbean and the broader Commonwealth. Quote, we are talking about the leader of the opposition being a fugitive offender. Let me read the back. This is what the Attorney General, SC, MP, is saying. We are talking about the leader of the opposition being a fugitive offender, he said. Quote, the stain and international stigma that will attach to our parliamentary process will cause us permanent damage, end of quote. The Attorney General questioned why the press and civil society are not expressing the same level of concern about that development. Then they said, quote, democracy must also protect its integrity. While critics frame the delay as evidence of political dysfunction, Nandlal said, quote, law-abiding citizens, end of quote, should instead be focused on the impact of an indicted individual holding one of the highest constitutional offices in the state. He maintained that Guyana's legislative system is functioning as it should, and that the vote will go forward once the Speaker is back on local soil. But he warned that the long-term credibility of Parliament must not be dismissed in the public conversation. Quote, this issue ought to feature with greater prominence in the public debates, end of quote, he stressed. Well, I consider this as part of the public debate, and I am going to talk about it. We are going to talk about it, right? Now, to refer to Azzuddin Mohammed as a fugitive offender, again, as I've said, I can't imagine somebody who is legally trained can do that. What is the definition of a fugitive offender? A fugitive offender or a fugitive from justice is someone who has fled or is hiding to escape legal accountability for a crime, either to avoid prosecution, sentencing, or confinement after a conviction, or to evade arrest giving testimony. This includes people fleeing across states or national borders, skipping bail, or escaping custody, often resulting in extradition requests to bring them back to face charges. The key characteristics: you intend to evade. The defining feature is the deliberate act of eluding law enforcement or court processes, not just being unaware of charges. Typical types of evasion: you're fleeing prosecution before conviction, escaping custody after conviction during trial, or failing to appear in court. None of these things fit Ashuddin Mohammed. And again, no brief for Ashuddin Mohammed. I deal with the rule of law. The Attorney General referring to Ashuddin, a man who was arrested, right? Yeah, he had his sanction in the U.S. They indicted him in the U.S. They applied to have him extradited to the U.S. The matter is in court. He has been turning up in court on every occasion. We see this, right? He is put on bail by the court. So how in heaven's name can he be referred to as a fugitive offender? Now, read back them law book, man. Read back. Read back. And one would expect, well, generally, one expects better from an attorney general. But when you go there on Tuesday night and you got to refer, and again, me and get no brief for Ashuddin Mohammed, I deal with the rule of law. Ashuddin Mohammed is not a fugitive, is not an offender as Nandala wants to claim. He's not. And then it speaks about electing him as the leader of the opposition will be a stain on Guyana's parliament. See, allow me, let me battle a little bit more, man. It will be a stain on Guyana's parliament. Imagine that. Let me tell you this. First of all, when he talks about the way how the Attorney General is speaking there, about the process to elect the leader of the opposition, confirms what a lot of people believe, that this whole thing is political. Now, when Nadir comes back, this thing is going to call the meeting to elect the leader of the opposition. Why did he not do so before? He could have done it the very day, the 3rd of November, when the members of parliament were sworn in. It has happened in the past where the first day that is sworn in, leaders of the opposition have been sworn in. Why did he not do that then? If he believes that this role, this constitutional role, is such an important role, why did he not do it before he left the jurisdiction? I am saying it is my belief, given all the circumstances, right, that they want Ashuddin there as leader of the opposition. They're going to do everything to delay the process. Everything. They started out by arresting him the last working day before the Friday, the 31st of October, when Parliament was to convene and did convene on 3rd of November, the Monday. And they say quite clearly that they did not expect him to get bail. They argue he shouldn't get bail. So the thing backfired because the plan was to arrest him the Friday and have him remanded. So when Parliament convened on the Monday, he would not have been there to be sworn in. And if you're not sworn in as a member of Parliament, you can't be elected as the leader of the opposition. That was the plan. That is my belief. That was the plan. But the thing backfired. The thing backfired in that he was granted bail by the magistrate. He was granted bail by the magistrate. And that shows a whole spoke in the wheel. Right? That shows. But then Nandlal, there's always put in an extra A. Nandlal, the Attorney General, talk about a stain on Guyana's parliament. If a man who is, what is the phrase he used, I can't recall, a man who is charged, goes to parliament and be elected as the leader of the opposition. Nandlal, take a back seat and listen. Take a back seat. Do you recall in 2020, when the president was elected and became president, I think up to the time when he was sworn in as president, he had 19 fraud charges against him. You recall that? You recall that he's president. Do you recall the allegation against your vice president, Barra Jagdeo, Sugate, that he does take money from Chinese to do business? He is in parliament too. So out there staying in the parliament. What about yourself, sir? You were charged with thieving law books. The matter went through the court. The court found that there was sufficient evidence for you to lead a defense. You run to Harlem Court, and when you came to power in 2020, the matters were discontinued. That is not a stain on the parliament to know a man who get charged with thieving law books is the Attorney General. That is not a stain. Let me tell you some more. Right? What about Kwame McCoy, who is a member of parliament and a member of the cabinet, convicted for assault? Right? He arrested in connection with the murder of Courtney Cramiwing. Remember that? Accused with the Julius story, where he's alleged to be soliciting sex from a 16-year-old boy from Linden. Remember that? What about the Freddie Kissoon shit-throwing incident? The magistrate, Judy Latchman, he was charged with that. Kwame McCoy, Jason Abdullah, and Sean Hines were charged. Right? Jason Abdullah was sentenced or found guilty. Kwame McCoy and Sean Hines got off. The magistrate said in a ruling, I got it here someplace. The magistrate said in a ruling that she was sure that Kwame McCoy arranged the shit showing from Freddie Kissoon. But because of some technicality, he walked free. Right? Because of some technical. Yeah, me and deal with rape plan now. I deal with them who are in the system. Called rape plan gone on the ground. So Kwame McCoy. Right? What about, AG, you remember a man named Alistair Charlie, who's a member of parliament now? Alistair Charlie was charged with sexual offense with a 16-year-old boy and perverting the course of justice. Yeah, where he's alleged to have sexually assaulted a 16-year-old boy. And incidentally, in case you all know, Alistair Charlie is a male, charged with sexual assault with a 16-year-old male. And then it is alleged that he then went to pay the mother, the grandmother, some money for dog the matter, and the charge for that to perverting the course of justice. Charlie, you forget that? Them things bring stain on parliament. Because he was in parliament before, and now he come back. He returned there like Zapata, returned to sender. He's back in parliament again. And that is not a stain on parliament. Let me tell you some more. You get the pandit from across the river, who is now a minister, was alleged to have raped a 13-year-old girl. Police arrested her at West Demerara. And then the girl went and committed suicide. He is a member of parliament and a minister of the government. You forget that, Nanland, Attorney General? You forget that? Right? You get another one of your colleagues in parliament. You get another one of your colleagues who had a house in Queenstown, Georgetown, where he installed spying devices. And then he rented it to them, he used to rent it to young ladies. And he used to peep them. He's a member of parliament. He's one colleague. You must know is who. Find out. Then a stain on parliament, or because it wasn't public, that is not a stain on parliament. You're talking about electing a leader of the opposition will be a stain on the parliament. Look, you get so many other matters, right? You get the Gotley 00 not license to lick Batty. 3 or how many charges he there before the court to the matter ain't gone yet. We know it's gonna go soon. Because now that he backed the PPP and the PPP is back in power and he's made a member of parliament, we know them charges with the land story. We know them. He's still there in parliament. And he ain't gonna bring he gonna put a stain on parliament. Let me tell you some more. Let me tell you, you have Mrs. Farrell Blast and Mrs. Smokey the Bandit, who went to the U.S. High Commissioner's residence as guests on an Independence Day activity and abused out the minister, the ambassador in his own house, Brent Hart. That ain't a stain? That ain't shameful? You get all them allegations. Remember Junior Bash recently? Allegation that ministers even call the president and tell them involved in runnings, corrupt activities, never investigated. And you telling me them thing now bring stain to the parliament, man? Them now bring stain? And there are so many more. You get people involved, alleged to be involved in housing runnings. housing runnings, and they're down there, and it's not staying to the not staying to the parliament. But a man who is indicted in the US, maybe because the US, y'all outsourcing these things, indicted in the US, is going through an extradition proceedings. But if he is to be elected as the leader of the opposition, that will bring a stain to the parliament and so on. That is what you want people to believe. But you see, when you say those things, I and others have to put the facts out there. Put the facts out there. You get lying Mark Phillips as Prime Minister. As I said, Kwame Mackay convicted in the court. I ain't talking about the islands, in Guyana court. Right? Arrested for murder. Charged with others to throwing shit from Freddie Kissoon. And the Freddie Kissoon thing is even worse because it take long for to affect him. It's only now he getting affected by the shit. The shit had a slow effect on him. It's only now. But all of these things. So you jump out and talk all this crap like if people don't know what is going on. I like them. I know y'all could do what y'all want to do. All the threats and so on. I'm not worried. I'm not afraid. Right? I'm not afraid. Right? I said, y'all have more to fear than me because I have come to grips with my mortality. I know I have to die. And I there thieving all them money until like if I ain't dead. Yeah, thieving all the money, like if you go take it when you go with you. All the corruption. All the corruption. I hope the word comes back in Parliament this time around because during the last Parliament, Nadir banned the word from being used. But now that you are talking about it, you get a round table discussion on corruption. You're supposed to set up some anti-corruption unit and all that. That is acknowledgement that there is corruption. Acknowledgement that there is corruption. Acknowledgement that there is massive corruption. Massive. You get, going back to the Jack Dew incident, where the allegation was made. The United Nations body asked Gail Teixeira why this matter wasn't investigated. And Gail Teixeira told a United Nations body that the reason why it wasn't investigated because no report was made to the police. You have anything so outrageous? A sting operation. Reveal all of that. And you're waiting for a report to be made to the police? That's what she's going to tell you the thing. But I tend to forgive her because they say, the Surgeon General talks about the effects of nicotine. Surgeon General talks about the effect of nicotine. So you can perhaps forgive Gail when she go and make these colossal blunders. Right? Let me bring in CC, man. I had a long bat in there. I'm sure he championed a little bit to obviously. CC, your take, my brother, on this statement by the Attorney General of fugitive offender and all sorts of crap. Go ahead.
Well, can't remember when last I heard such a wild statement, and more so coming from Attorney General. From the Attorney General, I hold no brief for the Mohammeds, no whatsoever, and I don't see what's doing to a fugitive offender. Come up with the evidence, as they used to say. Come up with the evidence. And they're talking about staying on Parliament. Staying on Parliament. They're breaching the Constitution left, right, and center with impunity. Let me give you a couple of issues. A very important body, Police Complaints Authority, that will look at certain serious matters, that have to supervise certain serious complaints against the police, including when persons die in police custody. There is no Police Complaints Authority. The authority died months ago. And then another important body that's supposed to be looking Act appointment, disciplinary control, and removal from office in dealing with police. The Police Service Commission, since May, the term come to an end according to the instrument that they got. Instrument say 3 years after the instrument is issued, they no longer member of this service commission. And they continue to make promotions. They continue to take disciplinary action against people, police. And the same service commission, one died over a year ago, no replacement. The Chief Justice said there must be 5 members of the Police Service Commission according to the Constitution. They get 4. And they say, and this the Chief Justice, and they cannot perform any functions of the commission. And they get a man who call himself a bishop, and he masquerading, holding on that he's still a member of the Police Service Commission and can't come forward with any document. And there's so many breaching the Constitution. The appointments of certain persons. We be talking about the appointment of appointment of Azharuddin as leader of the opposition. It cannot be done. Parliament finish. All the speaker got away. Call a meeting, say we get a meeting tomorrow morning with all the opposition members and let us select somebody. But no. But that is not a stain on Parliament, you know. That is not a stain upon that. That is a normal thinking. So many breaches taking place with impunity, and you're saying it is not has anything to do with a stain on Parliament and parliamentary procedure. Corruption, allegation of corruption against the second vice president. Not a single investigation. And he's a parliamentarian. But that is not a stain. Paul, you mentioned about allegations of gold smuggling and all kind of thing there against persons, including the president mother. But that is not a stain in Parliament. There are so many different things, but let me close off here for the while.
Well, you know, yes. I'm talking about that. You talk about the Sugate allegation. I must mention that this disease, this Lamborghiniitis, tend to be affecting the second vice president because for 4 consecutive Thursdays, no cuss out. The last Thursday cuss out was on the 6th of November, 2025. And since then, no cuss out. So Lamborghiniitis seems to be affecting the vice president seriously. Lamborghiniitis. That serious disease. More of them than suffer from that same disease. As we speak here now, I think there is a big ceremony for the opening of the Christmas village along Main Street from Church Street all the way, I think, to Lamar Street, those of you who are familiar with Georgetown. But I was shown a tape this afternoon where a lot of rain fell. Some people are wondering what would happen in Main Street. Let me show you all some of the things going on in GT that today with the rain.
Yeah, guys. So this is in beginning of the Regent Street. This is really, it's a long time I haven't seen this in Georgetown. This is a lot of water. I don't know what's really going on in this place. I tell you, it's very unhealthy too. Yeah, it's really, really unhealthy. When I see this water alone, I just seen grungage. When I watch this water, I just seen grungage. Yes, I just came up from Regent Street. Up there is worse as well too. All those stores. Yeah, this is real bad though. I don't know what's really going on in Georgetown here, but just highlighting to you guys so you can see what is going on here. Yeah, you know, get the people will be selling and hustling here by Caribbean Airline too. Look how high the water they're reasonable. I ain't even know if I get a trend somewhere here, but I guess everything is one now. Yeah, this is real bad. The water is really, really high, you know. Let me show you from a distance too. Yeah, this is real bad. As the woman was telling me just now, I need to get Caribbean Airline if I want to cross over. Yeah, this is a mess. On a serious note. Grungage, boy. When I see this, the only thing that comes to mind is grungage. When I see this, it's just grungage. It's the only thing that comes to mind. Grungage. Yeah, they really gotta clean the drains though. They gotta clean the drains. I guess it's a problem all over. It's a problem all over. As soon as a bit rainfall, that's it. Yeah, gotta walk on the main road here, just to be a bit. Yeah, you can't walk on the park because it's normally supposed to be walking here. Say by this weather, and the rain didn't even fall along this whole thing. The constabulary compound and them things too. Also same thing too. Underwater. Oh my. I just praying to reach and wash my feet. It's a good. I can get a cream though. Serious. When I study this water, all thing come to mind is grungage, and I'm so scared for this water. Yeah, you see inside the church compound there. I mean the city engineer in the park. So even if you gotta get out the car from there too, I guess you gotta get something. Yeah. You see, simple.
Well, folks, you saw that. Let me show you the next short one with the flooding. Look. They're going to blame the city council, I guess. They're going to blame the city council. Let me bring in CC for him to give his closing remarks, and then we're going to give you a look forward. CC, your closing, please.
I again saying that they should do a proper investigation in relation to the gold operations by the Brazilians at Morudi Mountain Region 9. Understand? Large among the gold like sand is being produced. Very little is declared and sent to Brazil. The operation Brazilian, but he has connection, he had a ministerial connection. He is the boss man, and he getting paid in gold. There's the reports I got still to confirm. And the people from Geology and Mines Commission are afraid, or they not go in Marudi Mountain itself. They hold up and let them and on a checkpoint at Shelton. West Guyana's gold is being smuggled in large quantities. Some declare, some not declare. And those that declare, they're not selling to the gold board and they're not selling to licensed gold dealer. So they're hustling with the Chinese. I will not brief with the Chinese. They're hustling in the Kaini River, they're hustling with the Chinese. But they're not concentrating on Shelton, where massive gold smuggling taking place by Brazilians. Brazilians dominate the place. They hardly get Guyanese at Marudi Mountains. They hardly get Guyanese in Marudi Mountains. And I repeating myself, the geology and mines people fighting for go and check on the Brazilians because of the Brazilians' connection with a minister. And let me talk this one before I close. I heard a story that a man, 51-year-old man, is being kept against his will by the police at what they call a safe house at Ivlery. I repeat, 51-year-old man is being kept by the police against his will by what the police call a safe house at Ivlery. Information is that the police had influenced him to give evidence in a matter, to say that he witnessed a certain crime. He's not a paragon of virtue. He spent time at Camp Street. He spent time on the East Coast at Lusignan as a guest of the state, but he's now free. So they got him to give evidence in a criminal matter. Kept him there, said, we got to protect you. You got to protect because people are going to kill you before you testify. He testified since in June month. He begging to come out from the place, to be released. He didn't commit no offense, but they are not releasing him. And the condition there is atrocious. Understand, he's being guarded by special branch, people from the major crime unit and CID. And he's very, very upset that he's like he has been kidnapped by the police. Can't go anywhere, can't do anything, can't talk to any people, because they told him that if they release him, people are going to kill him. Was them Kazi for right statement, them influence, them tell you for right, and he testified. And he testified since June month. And since June month, he asked him, release me, leg along me, and they're still keeping me at what they call a safe house at police headquarters, Ivlery. I'll give you more on that later.
Thanks, my brother. Thank you very much. Now, folks, we have come to today. As I've said, Christmas time. According to my reckoning, after this weekend, you get 2 more weekends of Christmas. 2 more weekends. It's here already. That day is here already. I guess sometime soon, public servants going to get a pay. You got to make up your mind by now. You got to understand. You ain't going to cash grant forget unless you get on that disabled list. Unless you're suffering from disability. Not for you. You can say you go your wheelchair, so you go for register. But the people already have the list of 27,000 people. Right? So take care. You got to take care. Somebody asked the question in the thing, if they had any fatal accidents. It looked like they came on late because they came on early. They were already saying they had two between Wednesday and today, two. Plus you had a murder, or appeared to murder, where a female special constable, they said, wounded her boyfriend and he died. So yes, we get a lot of problems, especially now that the rain is falling. People got to be extra careful on the roads. Extra careful on the road. I see, I got time to go into it today because I see the attorney, to all them making statements about this tinting. We're going to talk about it more. We're going to talk about it more because I really want to know, as some people are saying, let me leave it on this note. Some people are saying, you have people dying on the roads, right? Dying on the roads. They themselves say because of speeding and so on. Yet still the focus now is on tint and motor vehicles. You see how the people get their priorities mixed up? They're focusing on tint and motor vehicles when you have issues that they have identified causing people to die on the road. Every week we come. Sometimes every other program we come. That many. Then they're going to give you some fictitious figure as to the number of road deaths. Guyana remains one of the countries with the highest per capita road deaths in the world. Highest per capita road deaths in the world. Not just tint. I ain't saying it should not be addressed, but I believe you have to prioritize things. Whatever you do, and again, it's because of this old piecemeal thing, and they're talking about going to parliament and doing it. You haven't analyzed to see that those things that you're doing have had little or no effect. You're talking again, let me say, you're trying to change a lawless culture. You're trying to change a lawless culture. Cultures are not easy to change. The sociologists will tell you that. But what y'all do, you're tinkering at the edges and so on. Folks, let me know. Today is Friday, the beginning of the weekend. I wish you all a safe, enjoyable weekend. I know a lot of people the women can start their preparation with your breaking up house. You might have done that a long time ago to start fix up. Some people already, I guess, put up decorations and fairy lights and all this sort of thing. It's that time of the year. It's that time of the year. So again, I plead with you. I am pleading with you to be safe, to take care of yourselves and your loved ones, especially when you're traveling on the road. The fact that we're into the rainy season, going to make the roads even more dangerous. Some areas in the country, tractors coming out to the rice field and so on with a lot of mud on the road, it becomes very slippery. They talk about speeding, but they don't factor in other things like tires, whether the tires are proper, and all of those things. So take care of yourselves. Yeah? Take care. Until we meet, we're scheduled to meet again on Monday at 11 o'clock. Right? Until then, God spare life. Have a good weekend. Bye.